Right now, millions of people are missing out on the best new features of iOS 26 just because they don't know which settings to change. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly that. And we're starting off with the big one, and that's battery. The first thing we're going to want to do is go into the settings app. I have it, it's right here up top, but you can also just type it in and it should show up as well. And then we're going to want to go into battery. So in here, you can see this, if you've looked at it before, it's gotten a nice update with iOS 26, but we're gonna scroll down and we have a new option here, which is battery mode. So Apple added this adaptive power. You can get notifications with it if you want, but you don't have to. So what is adaptive power? Well, Apple tells you right here, it says when your battery usage is higher than usual, iPhone can extend your battery life by making performance adjustments, such as lowering the display brightness, allowing some activities to take longer, or turning on low power mode at 20%. So this is all up to you, but you should know that this is an option. So basically, if you want to have the battery life of your phone be the best that it can be, then turn this on. If you want the performance of your phone to be the best that it can be, maybe you're somebody that plays a lot of games or does some heavy editing on your iPhone, then you may want to actually turn this setting off because some of that could take a little bit longer if this setting is on. But if you need the battery life, which I think most of us are prioritizing battery life over everything, I highly recommend turning this setting on. Another great setting that also has to do with the battery life, and we're just going to call this 1A, is under charging. So if you want to preserve the battery health of your iPhone, this is a great setting for you. So if I go and I actually look at the battery health of mine, I'm already down to 92% after a year. And that's because I leave my phone on the charger way too often. But to fix that, now they have this setting, and it's been here for a little while. You have the optimized battery charging, which basically what that does is that it tries to learn your habits of when you put the phone on the charger and when you take it off the charger, and it doesn't charge the iPhone up to the 100% until it thinks you're about to take it off. So that's great for sleeping and stuff like that, but a lot of us have crazy lives and that method just doesn't really work well. So this setting right here allows you to change that to where your phone will never actually charge to 100%, but the battery health of your iPhone will thank you for it. So you can take it down to 95. You'll notice the optimized battery charging automatically comes off when this happens. Or you can even take it down to 90. That's what a lot of people recommend. And the battery's gotten so good on these devices that most people can still make it through a day, even if they're only allowing their device to charge to 90%. If you're somebody that plans to keep your iPhone for multiple years, this can actually extend the battery health of your device and make it to where, 2-3 years down the line, your battery's doing great still. The next setting we're going to look at has to do with the lock screen and some of the new UI elements in iOS 26. So once again, we're going to go back to the settings app. This time we're going to scroll down until we see wallpaper. So we're going to go right in here, and you'll notice you can customize your lock screen or your home screen. Right in here, you can even add a new wallpaper. I'm going to customize the lock screen. So here you can see this is how it's kind of normally looked. You can have, it's a dynamic layout. You have shadow. You can change some of the stuff in here as well. But the thing we're going to be talking about is the clock and your widgets. So these are your lock screen widgets, and I love having these on my lock screen, but at the same time, I don't like where they're located. So now we can actually tap and hold and actually drag these down to the bottom. So this makes them way easier to interact with, but along with that, the clock itself, we can stretch it out nice and long. I think this design looks really, really good, and it just gives the whole iPhone just like a new, fresh look. If you don't like the way the clock looks, you can also tap it and change how the design of the clock looks. You can make it a little thicker, a little lighter. You can change the color to what you like, keep it glass or make it solid. all these changes are super, super nice. But I, for one, really just like the super large clock with my widgets down below. Now, if you don't know how to add and change your widgets, you can just tap on these, remove the ones you want, add the ones you want. The main thing to remember is when you are done, when you have edited everything the way you want it, then you just want to make sure you hit the done up at the top, because that saves your settings. If you hit cancel or swipe up, you're going to have to go all the way back through. So now if I go ahead and I lock my phone, you can see that nice large time, the widgets down below, so I can quickly just tap and access those. We're gonna stick with the UI stuff for number 3, but make sure you stay till the end, because the last one is one that I am really excited about, but I also still think Apple needs to tweak it a little bit more to make it even better. So number 3 has to do with your home screen. So you can look at mine right here. You'll notice a few things, but if we tap and hold on the home screen, you can go to the edit button up top. Once I tap on that, you have all these different items. The one we're gonna go to is customize. So in here, we now have the ability to do the clear icons. I think we've all seen these transparent icons. They look pretty good, but they are not perfect. Hopefully Apple continues to make these better. We also have the default, which is gonna be your light mode. You can do dark mode, you can have it auto or always. So if you always want dark icons, whether you're in dark mode or not, you can have that. And then of course tinted, which we had last year. So personally, I like actually going between dark and light mode. I like having that option, but the setting that I'm gonna highly recommend you set is, if by default you may see your icons look like this, you have the app name below them. It's time for a change. Most of us pretty much know what app we want, when we want it. We can recognize it based on the icon itself. So I highly recommend this little button right here will actually just expand them and make them larger. This is actually a setting that I think we've had for the last year, but so many people didn't adopt it, and I highly recommend, because it just makes the iPhone look new. But maybe you're not a fan of the new liquid glass design and you'd like a little less transparency in your life. Apple did remove a lot of the transparency from what they originally demoed. But if you want even less, all you have to do is, once again, we're going back into settings. We got to get out of the wallpaper. This time we're going into accessibility, and then we go to display and text size. And now in here, there's a reduce transparencies. So as soon as I turn that off, you noticed right away this button actually changed. So if I turn it back on, turn it back off. But now let's go ahead and let's just go into an app. Let's go into the TV app, because I feel like that had a good amount of transparency. So you can kind of see this looks a little bit more like the old style of the app. You still have a little bit of that new design in here as you change things around. But once again, let's turn that back off. And now let's go into here. And now you can see all the transparency. You can see through the different areas. That icon looks a little rough. There we go. Let's re-enable it. So now we have that additional transparency. So it's up to you which one you prefer. But if you are somebody that has a little bit harder trouble reading things when they are over top of other items, turning off that reduced transparency will fix that. So number 5 is in the Messages app, and it's all about those message backgrounds. So first off, there's a warning, and then we'll kind of show you the settings. So basically, if you go into Messages, and let's say I'm just gonna have a conversation with myself here, you set this background. So I've set a background, just so you know, whatever background you set with somebody, if they have iOS 26, they will see that background. That background is shared between you and them. So this is just a warning. Maybe you're somebody with a crush and you want to set a cool background for your crush, but she doesn't know that she's your crush, and your background may end up telling her that. Just, I don't know. That's just some things that go through my mind. is just to know that this background is shared with everybody in that conversation. But if you're somebody like me and you just don't like the backgrounds, like they make it a little bit harder to read things and they're just a little kind of annoying overall, this is how you can actually just turn those off across the board. So once again, we're going back into the settings app. This time, there's a couple different ways to get to it, but I'm just gonna hit the search down here and type in messages. So we go into the messages, and if we scroll down, there is an option, conversation backgrounds. Turn that off right there, and then your background is gone. And this works across the board. Whether you have different conversations with different people, they will still have it. They will still see their background, whatever they set, but you don't have to see it anymore. And for me, this is one that I am definitely leaving on. The backgrounds are a fun new feature, but they're just not for me. And if they're not for you, this is how you can actually turn them off and not have to worry about them. Number 6, in my opinion, is the best new feature of iOS 26, and it's call screening. This feature, oh, I love it. It's amazing that it's not on by default, but here's how we do it. So once again, back into the settings app because that's where we basically live. And now we're gonna go to phone. So if we can just search it down here, tap in phone, and then we scroll down and you have the hold assist. So basically, if somebody puts you on hold and they start playing the music, your phone will notice that and give you the option to have the hold assist detection. Now this feature is quite nice. I've only used it a couple times. One time was with Apple. That's the first time I ever used it. I thought, of course, it's going to work well for them. But there is a couple little issues because sometimes you may get the notification that they're back and you can't read in time. You answer it quickly. Well, I missed what the step I had to do because it was still a robot. It wasn't a person that was talking to me since it was Apple. And I missed the step and I wasn't able to, I didn't know what button I was supposed to press to actually get back to where I needed to go. So I actually had to start the whole call over again. So this one is hit or miss. I'm sure it's going to continue to get better, and there's probably just a learning curve that you have to just kind of get used to, but super nice. Live voicemail, also a big fan of that one. But here is the thing, screen unknown callers. So you have 3 different options here. You have never, so everything will just basically work the way it's always worked. You can actually have the AI answer the call and ask for the reason that they're calling. This is the one I like to turn on because you may have people that call you that you just don't have saved on your iPhone, and this way the call will still come through, or you can actually silence unsaved numbers and they'll just be sent to voicemail directly. So I keep it on the ask reason for calling. I haven't experienced this yet. I haven't had somebody I've tried to call. I don't make that many calls, but it seems so great. And I'm just such a big fan of having this setting on my phone. And this basically like solves the spam calling and all that stuff. At least it has for me. I've been using it since the beta and it's been really nice. I've had a few people call and they've gotten through and it's just really great. So highly recommend. Ask the reason for their calling and go through that setting. Now the next one is an update to screenshots on the iPhone. If you didn't know, if you hit the volume up or volume down and the sleep wake button, you can take a screenshot on your iPhone. Now before they would automatically take and then come down here and you can save them or whatever. Now we have so much more control over what we want to do with this screenshot. And we don't even have to save it. Like you have all these different options. If you have a phone that supports Apple Intelligence, you can actually ask a question about the screenshot and it will try to follow up with ChatGPT for you there. You can also do an image search. So Google will try to find out what image you're looking at and you can see they immediately show me other screens of that wallpaper. You can share, you can annotate and draw, whatever you want to do. all before saving or sending. And then if you don't want it at all, you can just hit that little close button and it just closes out. It actually doesn't save it. Now, if you want the old style, or maybe you're not seeing the new style, let's get into the settings and I'll show you where you can actually change that. So under settings and then general, there is a screen capture option. So you get the full screen previews. That is this new feature. You can have automatic visual lookup if you want. So you can automatically have it use some of the AI stuff to look up something. You can set your screenshot to be HDR if you'd rather. I'm just going to keep mine at SDR. But this is another big one. If you ever use CarPlay and you do a screenshot, it will automatically save the CarPlay screenshot as well. And if you, in most cases, you do not need that option. So they give you that and it's off by default. But if you'd like to turn it back on, this is where that setting is. So right here, I can actually turn this off. If I take another screenshot, now it goes back to the old style where it automatically comes down here. I can still tap and get kind of to the new style. So if you're somebody that just likes taking screenshots and you just want to get through them as quickly as possible, you can turn the full screen previews off. But one of the features that I really like, but with screenshots and with the ability now to kind of use the AI to look up stuff about them, one thing, and it's weird, but it works really well. I get people asking me what wallpaper use, and obviously this one is the default from iOS 26. But when I get those questions, sometimes like I have a wallpaper folder, but I don't remember where I've collected these for many, many years and I don't always remember. So this one is a pretty big one. I get this one a lot. So what I can do is I'll do a screen capture of it and then I'll do an image search and then it will find it right there. So then I can just share that link, or I can even look at other ones that are basically inspired by this wallpaper. So if you're a big fan of wallpapers and you want to know where one came from, or you want to try to find one that you see on my video or somebody else's and you can't get a hold of the creator, this is a good way. Take a screenshot of that video, zoom in to the wallpaper and do the image search and you'll most likely find it. It's super easy, super nice. It's a weird use case. I understand that. There's better use cases for it, but it's still one that actually works and it works really well. So next up has to do with Safari. So if we open up Safari, you can see it has a little bit of a new layout. You have the back button here, the web info there, and then you have your options right here. Quick tip for this, if you want to get to all your open tabs, you can actually just swipe up right on that. Super nice there. That's just a little free tip for you. But we're going to go back into the settings app once again, and we're going to type in Safari. And then in here, if you don't like that new compact floating layout, you can actually have everything at the bottom. So now we have kind of closer to the older style where you have the nav bar and then all the navigation items all right here at the bottom, and they kind of come and go. Or if you want it back to where it was, a couple years ago with everything at the top and bottom, you can even do that as well. So these options are there for you if you choose, which is super great because the more options, the better. So people can have things the way they want it. Now we're on to the Photos app, which got a major update. Last year's update was pretty rough. This one, if you ask me, is a lot better. But let's go into Photos and we're going to close out that wallpaper. We're going to go in here. So we have the library here, and then you have your collections right here. So this may look a little bit different than yours, and that is because I have customized this in the past, and we can still do it in the new one. So if you scroll all the way, if you're under collections and you scroll all the way to the bottom, there's a reorder button, and you can rearrange these however you want. So you can have your pinned items up top, media types. I like having access to the media types and albums, and then the peoples and pets. And then everything else can just flow in there wherever you want. I don't really care about the trips, the recent days, all this utilities and stuff like that. I like having the stuff I want the most all at the top. That's why I have the pinned items at the top and then the media types at the top. So I can access, if I'm looking for a video, I can go straight to just looking at all my videos. So if you're still not happy with how the Photos app looks and works, you can actually change it and make it your own. Now next is with your alarms and the snooze. Apple actually now gives us the ability to change the amount of time in the snooze timer. So, but this is not in the settings app. You actually have to go into the clocks app and then you have all your alarms. I use Siri to set them, so I have a ton. But if you go into your alarm, you can now change the snooze duration. It can be anywhere as long as 15 minutes or as little as 1. By default, it's 9 minutes, and that has always drove me insane. I'm like, I don't want 9. Normally, I just want a 5-minute snooze, but if anything, you would think it'd be a 10-minute snooze, but it's always 9. I guess they figure it's going to take people a minute or so to hit that snooze button, so it'll be technically 10 minutes after their alarm. I don't know. It drives me nuts, but I like to be able to actually set this. But it is super nice to be able to customize that. I know it's the little things that matter. Now, my issue with it is that you have to set each one individually. Like, I'm not sure why Apple did it this way and not gave us an option. I guess they didn't want to add yet another setting to the settings app because they probably felt like that's where that would have to go. You have to set it individually for whichever one you want. You can't set an overall default because the overall default is still going to be that 9 minutes. But these are your 10 tips. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that thumbs up, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. God bless.